The real source of wealth. When most people think of wealth, their minds immediately go to external things. Money in the bank, a good job, a thriving business, a strong economy, or maybe even a lucky break. We're taught from childhood that money comes from outside of us. It comes from other people, from companies, from markets, or from the system. This belief runs so deep that when people face financial struggles, they immediately look outward. They blame the economy, their employer, the government, or their circumstances. And because of this conditioning, many spend their lives in fear. Fear of losing their job, fear of market crashes, fear of being left behind. They believe that the supply of wealth is limited, that only a few can really be rich, and that the rest must work endlessly just to survive. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught something radically different. She revealed a spiritual truth that completely changes the way we see money and abundance. The supply is not outside of you. You yourself are the channel for all you desire. The infinite is your source. What does this mean? It means that you're not dependent on a single employer, a single client, or even the economy itself. You are connected to a divine source of infinite supply, a source that cannot run out, cannot be exhausted, and cannot be limited by the physical world. Why most people believe money is external. We grow up in a world that equates wealth with effort, time, and hustle. In school, we're told to work hard, get good grades, then find a secure job. We're taught that money flows from bosses, companies, or governments. Even in adulthood, people say things like, I can't afford that until I get a raise. If the market improves, then I'll have more money. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. All of these statements assume the cause of money is external, that someone or something outside must give it to you. This belief keeps people trapped in a constant cycle of waiting, chasing, and worrying. They are like leaves blown around by the wind. If the economy is good, they feel safe. If it dips, they panic. They live at the mercy of forces they think they can't control. But Florence pointed out something powerful. If you believe the source of your wealth is outside, then you are cut off from your true power. You're living in what she called a state of separation consciousness, the illusion that you and your supply are two different things. Florence's radical teaching, supply is within you. Florence flipped the entire idea of money upside down. She said, man's supply is inexhaustible and unfailing when fully trusted. Your wealth is not truly coming from your employer, your business, or even your clients. They are just channels. The real source is the infinite intelligence, the God mind, the universal spirit, whatever name you give it. This source expresses through you. Think about it. When you get a new job, did the company create that opportunity out of thin air? Or did your inner intention, your consciousness, your energy call it in? When a client chooses you over someone else, was it purely coincidence? Or was it an alignment of vibration and divine timing? When unexpected money comes, a refund, a gift, an inheritance, why did it show up exactly when you needed it? Florence wanted people to see that the universe has infinite ways to bring supply. And the moment you stop clinging to one channel like a job or a specific person, you open the floodgates for countless others. The illusion of limited sources in the physical world. In the physical world, we see limits everywhere. A bank account has a number. A paycheck has an amount. A market has highs and lows. But Florence reminded us that the spiritual world operates on law, not limitation. Just like air cannot run out when one person breathes, divine supply cannot run out when one person prospers. Yet because people see only with physical eyes, they believe things like, there's not enough to go around. If they have more, I'll have less. Opportunities are scarce. These beliefs are based on the illusion of separation and limitation. They make you feel small, powerless, and dependent on circumstances. But in truth, your supply is like an endless spring of water beneath the surface. Even if one well dries up, the underground source is still there, ready to be tapped in a new way. Florence often said, there is a never-ending supply for everyone. The physical channels may change, but the source never changes. From separation to oneness with infinite supply. So how do you move from a life of fear, hustle, and limitation into one of ease, flow, and abundance? It begins with a shift in consciousness, a journey from separation to oneness. When you feel separate, you think, I must work harder to survive. When you feel separate, you fear losing your only source of income. When you feel separate, you chase money like a beggar, hoping someone will give it to you. But when you realize you're one with the source, everything changes. You stop panicking over individual jobs, clients, or markets. You relax into the knowing that supply can come through any channel, or a new one you can't even imagine yet. You begin to attract wealth effortlessly because you're no longer radiating fear and desperation. This is the ultimate wealth secret Florence wanted people to grasp. When you realize you are one with the source of supply, You stop trying to get and instead begin to allow. What this journey looks like. In this video, we're going to walk through this journey together. We'll explore how to break the illusion of external wealth, how to connect with the infinite supply within, the spiritual laws that govern money and prosperity, and most importantly, how to live in a state of constant divine provision. You'll see why hard work is not the only way, why struggle is unnecessary, and why abundance is your natural state. As Florence said, man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. By the end of this teaching, you'll have a completely new way of seeing yourself and your wealth. So take a deep breath and prepare to step into the truth. You are not separate from your supply. You are the channel through which infinite wealth flows. The spiritual origin of all money and prosperity. When most people hear the word money, they think of something physical, paper bills, coins, numbers in a bank account, or digital transactions on a screen. In the material world, money appears as a solid thing, something we can see, touch, and measure. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught us that what we see is only the effect, never the true cause. The real source of money and prosperity is spiritual, not material. Wealth is spiritual energy, not just paper or numbers. Think about it. Money in itself has no power. A dollar bill is just ink and paper. Gold is simply metal. Even digital money is just code. What gives these things value is belief, energy, and the shared agreement of people. At its core, money is an energy of exchange, a symbol of value. It represents flow. It's not the actual source of prosperity. It's just one of the channels through which prosperity expresses. Florence said, man receives only that which he sees himself receiving. Wealth is not created. It is released through the mind. In other words, money doesn't come from money. Money comes from an unseen force, a spiritual substance that moves through you, through other people, and through circumstances. If you only look at the physical side of money, you'll think it's limited. You'll think you can only get more by hustling harder, taking from someone else, or depending on a lucky break. But when you understand that money originates in the invisible realm, you realize it is limitless. Florence's view on the invisible substance behind material form. Florence often referred to an invisible substance that underlies all material things. She wasn't alone in this. Metaphysical teachers of her era described it as unformed substance, divine supply, or the God substance. Here's how she explained it. Everything you see in the physical world first existed in the unseen spiritual world. Thoughts, beliefs, and words shape this invisible substance into form. When you align your consciousness with abundance, you draw the invisible substance into visible expression. Think about it. Before a house is built, it exists as an idea in someone's mind. Before a business starts, it's a concept someone imagined. Even before money enters your life, it starts as a thought of prosperity, a belief that you are provided for. Florence called this invisible source the limitless reservoir of supply. It is everywhere, around you and within you, waiting to take shape according to your mental and spiritual blueprint. The unseen always precedes the seen. This is a universal law. Nothing appears in the physical without first existing in the spiritual or mental plane. Look at your own life. Every financial breakthrough you've ever had began with something intangible. An idea that led to income, a decision that opened a door, a belief shift that made you take a bold step. The seen world is always an echo of the unseen world. This is why Florence said you must stop worrying about the how. Your job is not to figure out every channel or step. Your job is to align with the source, to get your thoughts, beliefs, and words in harmony with divine abundance. Once you do that, the outer form takes care of itself. She often used this affirmation. I do not limit God by seeing limitation in myself. With God and myself in one, I am equal to every demand. Notice how this shifts your focus. Instead of panicking over the physical evidence, like a low bank balance, you tune into the unseen source that can replenish it in ways you can't predict. Why connecting to source guarantees unlimited provision? Here's the most powerful truth. When you are connected to the source of supply, you cannot lack. Why? Because this source is infinite. The source isn't affected by the economy. It doesn't care about recessions or job markets. It doesn't run out just because someone else got rich. In fact, the more people connect to this source, the more it expands, because it's limitless. Think of the ocean. If you take a glass of water from it, does the ocean feel less? No. You could take millions of glasses and it would still be full. That's what divine supply is like. It cannot be depleted. Florence would remind her students, there is a supply for every demand. There is a spiritual solution for every financial need. So when you're connected to the source, you stop chasing money with desperation because you know it's always flowing to you. You stop clinging to one income stream because you know the source has endless channels. You stop fearing the future because you know you're rooted in something eternal. How to begin aligning with the spiritual source of money. Florence's teachings were always practical. She didn't just say trust the source. She gave specific methods to stay aligned with it. Affirm oneness with supply. Use statements like, I am one with the infinite riches of my subconscious mind. All that is mine by divine right now comes to me in perfect ways. Stop looking to limited channels. Don't think your job, business, or one client is your only supply. See them as channels, not the source. Practice gratitude in advance. Thank the source for already providing, even before you see it physically. Stay open to unexpected ways. Money can come through ideas, people, opportunities you can't yet imagine. Stay receptive. A simple shift in perspective. Imagine two people facing the same financial situation. Person A thinks, my only hope is a raise from my boss. If that doesn't happen, I'm stuck. Person B thinks, this is just one channel. The universe has infinite ways to bring my supply. I open myself to all of them. Who do you think will attract a faster, easier solution? The one who sees beyond the visible channel and connects to the invisible source. Florence's teachings were all about making that shift, from fear of limited sources, faith in unlimited supply. In summary, money is not the true wealth. It's just a symbol of the spiritual energy behind it. Everything material, including money, begins in the invisible realm of thought and belief. When you align with the source, the divine intelligence that creates all things, you tap into an infinite reservoir that cannot run dry. Florence put it simply, man's supply is inexhaustible and unfailing when fully trusted. The invisible gives birth to the visible. So the question isn't, how will money come? The real question is, am I connected to the source that creates it? Because once you are, the channels will always appear, sometimes in ways far better than you could imagine. Separation versus unity consciousness. Scarcity is not a natural state. It is a human-made illusion that arises from one fundamental misunderstanding, the belief that you are separate from your source. Florence Scovel Shinn explained that lack is not created by the economy, by other people, or by circumstances. It is created by the consciousness of separation, the inner feeling that you are cut off from the infinite supply that sustains all life. When you feel separate from the source, you also feel small, limited, and powerless. You begin to believe that money is something out there that you must chase, compete for, or earn through endless effort. You think there is not enough to go around, so you hold tightly to what you have and fear losing it. This fear of separation is what creates the experience of lack. How scarcity is created by feeling separate from source. Imagine a ray of sunlight. It shines because it is connected to the sun. If it could somehow forget that connection, it would see itself as weak and fragile, believing it has no power. But the moment it remembers it is part of the sun, it realizes it cannot fail to shine. The same is true for you. When you forget your connection to the infinite source, you start to live as if you are on your own. You think your life depends entirely on your physical actions, your job, or other people's decisions. You rely only on what you can see and touch, which is always limited. This mindset leads to stress, struggle, and the feeling that you are always one step away from financial disaster. Florence called this separation consciousness, and she saw it as the root of all fear. When you feel separate, you believe you must create everything yourself. You believe that the universe is random, that some people are lucky and others are not. You believe that opportunity is scarce, and that if someone else succeeds, it means less for you. But the truth is, you are never separate from the source. You can no more be cut off from divine supply than a wave can be cut off from the ocean. The supply is always there. The only thing that changes is your awareness of it. Signs are operating in separation mode. So how can you tell when you're living in separation consciousness? It often shows up in subtle ways. You might feel constant worry about money, even when you have enough. You feel anxious checking your bank account, as if it holds all the power over your future. You make financial decisions from fear rather than trust, clinging to every dollar because you secretly believe more might not come. You might also find yourself comparing your life to others. When you see someone else prosper, instead of feeling inspired, you feel jealous or defeated. You think they are lucky. Things like that don't happen for me. This is separation thinking, believing that the universe plays favorites or that there's only so much good to go around. Another sign is overworking yourself into exhaustion, believing that your worth and your security are tied to endless effort. You hustle because you secretly believe if you stop for even a moment, the flow of money will stop too. Separation consciousness also reveals itself in doubt. When an opportunity appears, you second-guess it. When you have an inspired idea, you dismiss it, thinking, who am I to do that? You forget that the same source that gave you the idea can also provide the means to fulfill it. shifting into unity consciousness where supply flows easily. The good news is that separation is only an illusion. Unity consciousness, the awareness that you are one with your source, can dissolve scarcity in an instant. Unity consciousness is a state of deep knowing that you are connected to infinite supply. It is not a belief you force. It is a recognition of what has always been true. When you step into unity, you realize you do not have to make everything happen through force. You are no longer a beggar asking the universe for scraps. You are an heir claiming your divine inheritance. In unity consciousness, you stop obsessing over the how. You no longer limit yourself to one channel, like a job or a single client. You know the source can open countless channels for your good. You also stop worrying about timing because you trust divine order. Unity consciousness naturally creates ease. Instead of working from fear, you act from inspiration. Instead of hoarding money, you circulate it with joy, knowing it always returns multiplied. Instead of competing, you celebrate others' success because you know their gain does not diminish your own. Florence taught that unity consciousness allows supply to flow in ways that seem miraculous. Unexpected income appears. New opportunities arise out of nowhere. People who can help you show up at the right time. What changed was not the outside world. It was your inner awareness. Florence's affirmations for realizing oneness with divine supply. Florence gave her students simple yet powerful affirmations to help them shift from separation into unity. Speaking these words regularly helps reprogram the subconscious mind to remember its connection to source. One of her most famous affirmations is, "I am one with the infinite riches of divine substance. All that is mine by divine right now flows to me in perfect ways." This statement reminds you that your supply is already present in the unseen, waiting to appear in the seen. It shifts your focus from fear of lack to trust in abundance. Another affirmation she used was, "God is my unfailing supply. All channels are open. All doors are free." This helps dissolve the tendency to cling to one channel and opens your mind to the limitless ways the universe can provide for you. She also encouraged this simple yet profound truth. I do not limit God by seeing limitation in myself. This affirmation gently corrects the habit of thinking you are too small, too unworthy, or too powerless to receive. It reconnects you to your true nature as a spiritual being who is one with infinite wealth, living from unity instead of separation. Imagine waking up each day knowing you are deeply supported by an infinite source. Imagine taking actions not from fear of what might go wrong, but from excitement about what is already aligned for you. Imagine seeing every person's success as proof that more is possible for you too. This is what happens when you move from separation to unity. Scarcity thinking loses its hold. Fear fades. You begin to trust that what you need will always arrive, often better than you expected. Florence believed that once you live in unity consciousness, you stop chasing money because you know it is already flowing to you. You stop seeing yourself as someone lacking and start seeing yourself as someone fully connected to the source of all wealth. To move from separation to unity, pause throughout your day and remind yourself of the truth. I am not separate. I am one with infinite supply. I am never without support. As you repeat this, your mind softens and you begin to feel the truth of it. The illusion of scarcity fades as you remember who you really are, a divine expression of abundance itself. And when you know you are one with the source, you realize there was never anything to fear. The supply has always been here. Why external effort alone can't make you truly wealthy? For most of us, the message about money has been drilled into us since childhood. If you want more, you must work harder. Society praises hustle, long hours, and grind. We are told that if we simply put in enough effort, sacrifice enough time, and keep pushing, eventually we'll succeed. And yes, effort has its place. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught a deeper truth. External effort alone will never make you truly wealthy. There is a trap hidden inside the belief that hard work is the only way. If effort were the true key to wealth, the hardest working people in the world would also be the richest. But look around. You'll see janitors working long nights, construction workers sweating for endless hours, caregivers putting in their entire hearts, and yet many of them remain in financial struggle. Meanwhile, there are people who seem to live in ease, who do not exhaust themselves, yet they attract abundance effortlessly. Clearly, there is something beyond effort at play. The trap of believing only in hard work, hustle, or luck. The belief that effort equals wealth keeps many stuck in an endless cycle. They think, if I just work more hours, I'll finally get ahead. But no matter how much they do, the goalposts move further away. They find themselves too tired to enjoy life, yet still financially stressed. Another version of this trap is believing in luck. People who think wealth is all about being in the right place at the right time fall into helplessness. They wait for opportunities for someone to discover them, or for a lucky break. They may even resent those who succeed, assuming they were simply blessed in ways they were not. Florence saw this clearly and said, "Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. Hard work or luck without the right consciousness cannot create lasting wealth. Even if a person stumbles into money by chance, if their inner pattern is still one of lack, the money will slip away." How many stories have we seen of lottery winners or sudden inheritors losing everything within a few years? They changed their outer conditions, but their inner blueprint remained the same. Examples of people who worked hard but stayed broke. Consider the restaurant worker who works 2 jobs, 7 days a week, barely sleeping, yet still struggles to pay bills. Or the small business owner who hustles constantly but remains trapped in debt. They are putting in physical effort, but their inner belief is still rooted in struggle. Then think of someone like a wealthy investor. They may work fewer hours than the average person, but their consciousness is different. They expect abundance. They believe money flows easily to them. They operate from faith rather than fear, and so opportunities seem to appear naturally. Florence told a story of a man who constantly worked but never prospered. He was always exhausted, yet nothing seemed to move forward. She explained that his mental atmosphere was one of effort and strain. He believed everything had to be hard, so the universe mirrored that belief back to him. On the other hand, she shared stories of people who shifted their mindset and saw results without extreme effort. One woman stopped worrying about how she would earn money and instead affirmed, "God is my supply. My income now manifests in perfect ways." Shortly after, unexpected opportunities flowed to her, leading to more income than she ever imagined. Florence's teaching, right consciousness is greater than physical effort. Florence was not against work. She simply understood that work without the right consciousness is empty motion. It is like rowing a boat upstream with no awareness that there's a current you could align with. She taught that wealth is a spiritual law. When you align with that law, things begin to happen with ease. The right people show up. The right ideas come the right time. Work becomes joyful and effective, not draining and endless. She often said, "When you are right with yourself and with the divine law, success comes by itself." Notice she did not say success comes by luck or by killing yourself with endless hours. She said it comes by itself, meaning it is the natural outflow of alignment with spiritual law. When you are in fear, you push against life. When you are in trust, you allow life to support you. And in that space of trust, one inspired action can bring more results than months of forced effort. Introducing the concept of aligned inner work leading to outer ease. So what does it mean to do aligned inner work? It means you focus on shifting your beliefs, emotions, and energy before you rush into external action. Instead of saying, "I'll work harder to make more money," you ask, "What belief within me is blocking my flow of supply?" Aligned inner work might look like releasing fear of not having enough, affirming that you are one with infinite supply, visualizing yourself already living in abundance, listening for intuitive guidance instead of forcing random actions. When you do this inner alignment first, outer action becomes easier and more effective. You're no longer trying to make things happen through sheer willpower. You are moving with the current of divine supply. Think of it like tuning an instrument. If a guitar is out of tune, no matter how hard you press the strings, the sound will be wrong. But when you take a moment to tune it, the music flows effortlessly. Your consciousness is the same. When it is tuned to abundance, even small actions produce beautiful results. Practical example of inner versus outer alignment. Imagine 2 people starting a business. The first person is in separation consciousness. They believe money is scarce, so they hustle frantically, working long nights, stressing about competition, and pushing through fear. Their energy is scattered, and even if they make some progress, it feels hard and unsustainable. The second person starts by aligning inwardly. They affirm that the right clients are already being drawn to them. They visualize their business thriving. They trust the source to guide them to inspired action. When they take steps, they are calm and confident. Opportunities seem to appear easily, and their business grows with less strain. Both people are taking action, but the energy behind their action is completely different. The first is fueled by fear and effort, the second by trust and alignment. The results reflect that difference. What Florence recommended. Florence advised her students to begin each day with spiritual alignment before jumping into physical effort. She encouraged them to speak words like, "I'm fully supplied with everything needed for a rich and successful life. All doors are now open to me in perfect ways." She wanted people to remember that it is not the work itself that brings wealth, but the consciousness behind it. She often said, "Man's word is his wand." When you speak from faith and alignment, Your words and actions carry power. When you act from fear and strain, they carry resistance. Moving from strain to flow. You do not have to stop working, but you can stop struggling. You can let go of the belief that the only way to prosper is to push yourself endlessly. When you align your inner world, the outer world responds with ease. Aligned inner work creates outer ease. When you are in unity with your source, even simple efforts yield great returns. When you are out of alignment, no amount of effort feels enough. The secret is not to do more. The secret is to be more aligned. So take a moment now and ask yourself, am I trying to create wealth only through external effort? Or am I willing to align inwardly with the source that can multiply my actions effortlessly? When you choose alignment first, you discover a wealth that no amount of hustle alone could ever produce. Becoming receptive to infinite supply. If infinite wealth already exists in the spiritual realm, why do so many people still experience lack? It is not because the supply is missing. It is because they are not receptive to it. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the universe is always ready to give, but most people have closed the door to receiving. They block the flow with fear, guilt, and unworthiness. To experience true prosperity, you must learn how to become an open channel for divine supply. This does not mean begging the universe or forcing things to happen. It means clearing the inner blocks that stop you from receiving what is already yours by divine right. How to open spiritual channels of receiving. Florence compared spiritual supply to a river. It is always flowing, always abundant. But if you build a dam of fear or doubt, you cut yourself off from the current. The river did not stop flowing. You just blocked it from reaching you. So how do you open the channels again? First, you must believe it is possible. If deep down you think money is hard to come by or there's never enough, you create a mental wall. The universe cannot deliver what you do not expect. Shifting your beliefs from lack to possibility is the first step. Second, you must let go of control over the how. Many people limit the flow because they insist supply can only come from one channel, like a job, a client, or a specific plan. Florence taught that the universe has endless ways to provide. When you release the need to dictate how the supply will arrive, you give the divine more room to work miracles. Third, you need to take inspired action when it appears. Being receptive does not mean sitting still and waiting forever. It means trusting your inner guidance. When you feel a nudge to call someone, start a project, or explore an idea, follow it. That is often how the universe opens the channel to your supply, removing guilt and unworthiness around wealth. One of the biggest blocks to receiving is the hidden belief that you don't deserve it. Many people carry guilt around money. They think it is selfish to want more, or they believe they must suffer and sacrifice to earn anything of value. Florence said guilt and unworthiness are like clouds covering the sun. They do not destroy the sun. They simply block its light. In the same way, your feelings of being undeserving do not remove the divine supply. They just prevent you from seeing and accepting it. Think about how many people turn down blessings because they feel unworthy. Someone offers them help, and they say, "Oh no, I can't accept that." An opportunity appears, and they hesitate, thinking, "I'm not ready. I'm not good enough." These are the subtle ways we reject the very supply we have been praying for. Florence reminded her students that wealth is not evil, and wanting to live abundantly is not wrong. She said, "Man must prepare for the thing he asks for when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight." In other words, you must see yourself as worthy of receiving even before it shows up. You are a child of the infinite, and abundance is your birthright. When you embrace that truth, the guilt melts away. You begin to realize that the more you receive, the more you can give. Prosperity does not take from others. It multiplies good for everyone. Florence's concept of being an open vessel for blessings. Florence often described a person as a vessel through which divine supply flows. If the vessel is small and closed, only a trickle of blessings can come through. If the vessel is open and expanded, the flow is limitless. Being an open vessel means you are willing to receive without resistance. You stop second-guessing, doubting, or overthinking. You trust that what comes to you is in divine order. It also means you allow the flow to move through you, not just to you. Florence taught that money and blessings are like water. They need to circulate. If you hoard them in fear, the flow slows down. But when you receive with gratitude and share with confidence, the supply keeps multiplying. She encouraged her students to see themselves as channels of good for the entire universe. When you become a channel, you naturally attract more because you are not clinging or blocking. You are part of the flow. A simple receptivity exercise. Florence often gave practical exercises to shift from a state of resistance to a state of receiving. Here is a simple yet powerful one you can practice daily. Find a quiet space. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and imagine yourself surrounded by light. This light represents the infinite supply of the universe. Say silently or out loud, I am open and receptive to all the good and abundance that is mine by divine right. I release all fear, doubt, and guilt. I welcome divine supply in perfect ways. Visualize a golden river of abundance flowing toward you. See it washing away all feelings of unworthiness. Imagine yourself expanding, like a vessel growing larger to hold more light, more wealth, more blessings. Rest in the feeling of already having received. See yourself living with ease, your needs met, your desires fulfilled. Feel gratitude for it, as if it has already arrived. End with this affirmation. I am an open channel for divine abundance. I joyfully receive and I freely give. The supply is endless. Doing this, even for a few minutes each day, shifts your inner vibration from resistance to receptivity. You are telling the universe, I am ready, I am willing, I am worthy, living in a state of receptivity. Becoming receptive is not something you do once and forget. It is a way of living. It means you stay open to unexpected blessings, even when they don't look like you imagined. It means saying yes to opportunities instead of dismissing them. It means trusting that every good thing you receive is part of the divine plan. When you live in receptivity, you stop pushing life away. You stop rejecting compliments, help, or unexpected gifts. You start noticing how much is already being offered to you every day. Ideas, people, connections, inspiration. And as you appreciate and receive what is already present, more begins to flow. Florence reminded her students, infinite spirit is never too late nor too early. It is always on time. The supply is already prepared. Your role is simply to be ready to receive it. Final thought. So ask yourself, are you truly open to receive? Or are you still holding on to guilt, fear, or the belief that it must come only one way? The universe is generous. It wants to give you more than you are even asking for, but it cannot force its way through a closed door. Becoming receptive is about unlocking that door and letting the blessings in. When you become an open vessel, you will see that divine supply was never missing. It was only waiting for you to say, yes, I am ready. The creative power of the spoken word. Words are not just sounds. They are not meaningless vibrations in the air. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words are creative forces, living commands that shape the invisible substance of the universe into physical reality. Most people speak without thinking. They complain about lack, talk about their problems, and constantly reinforce what they don't want. Then they wonder why life seems to mirror their words. Florence explained that every word you speak carries energy. It is like planting a seed. Over time, it grows into the conditions of your life. So if you want to change your financial reality, you must change the words you speak. Words spoken with faith align you with the source of supply. They call forth the unseen abundance in a visible form. Why affirmations and decrees connect you to source supply. Florence believed that the spoken word is a bridge between your inner world and the outer world. Your thoughts alone have power, but when you speak them aloud with conviction, they are intensified. When you speak an affirmation like, I am one with the infinite supply, you are doing three things at once. You are declaring a spiritual truth that overrides fear and doubt. You are impressing this truth into your subconscious mind, which then acts to bring it into your experience. You are sending a vibration into the universe that calls for a matching response. In other words, affirmations and decrees are not empty words. They are spiritual commands. When you speak with authority and belief, you activate a law. Florence compared the spoken word to planting a garden. Every time you affirm abundance, you are planting a seed of wealth. Every time you speak fear, you plant a seed of lack. The universe does not judge. It simply grows whatever seeds you give it. That's why she was very clear. Never joke about poverty, never speak lightly about misfortune, and never casually repeat negative phrases like, I can't afford that, or I'm always broke. She taught that the tongue can bless or curse your life. It can open the floodgates of supply or slam them shut. Florence's exact prosperity statements. Florence gave her students simple but powerful prosperity statements they could speak daily. These were not long or complicated, but they carried strong spiritual authority. One of her most famous affirmations was, I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. This statement combines right action with divine supply. It affirms that your work is meaningful and that it attracts the right compensation effortlessly. Another key statement was, unexpected doors fly open. Unexpected channels are free, and endless avalanches of abundance are poured out upon me, under grace in perfect ways. Here she taught that you don't need to know how the supply will come. The universe has infinite unexpected channels. Speaking this affirmation allows blessings to come from places you never imagined. She also loved this short but powerful truth. I am linked with the endless supply of the universe. It's a simple reminder that you are never separate from the source. And one more she often recommended. All that is mine by divine right now comes to me in rich and satisfying ways. Notice how she always included the phrase by divine right and under grace. This means you receive only what is truly for your highest good, in a way that harms no one. How words bypass fear and command the unseen. Sometimes when you try to think positive thoughts, fear interrupts. Your mind argues back, saying things like, but what if it doesn't work? Or that's not realistic. This is why Florence emphasized the spoken word. Speaking aloud with conviction bypasses the chatter of the fearful mind. When you hear yourself declare abundance, it imprints deeper than silent thinking. She said that words are like wands. They command the unseen forces of the universe. When you speak with authority, you're no longer begging or wishing. You're declaring what is already true in the spiritual realm and calling it into physical form. It's like a king giving a decree. He doesn't ask his servants, please, can you maybe do this? He simply states, it is done, and it is carried out. You must treat your affirmations the same way, spoken with calm certainty, not desperation. Florence reminded her students that the spoken word is especially powerful when repeated daily with emotion. Over time, it changes the mental blueprint and dissolves old patterns of fear. Guided prosperity declarations for viewers. Here is a simple guided prosperity declaration you can use right now. Speak it slowly, clearly, and with feeling. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. Feel yourself connecting to the infinite supply that surrounds you. Now say aloud, I am one with the limitless abundance of the universe. Infinite supply now flows to me in perfect ways. I release all fear, doubt, and guilt about money. I am worthy of divine wealth. Unexpected doors are opening now. I receive my good with joy and gratitude. Money comes to me easily, freely, and endlessly, under grace and perfect ways. I am a channel for divine riches. I give generously and I receive abundantly. I live in a constant flow of prosperity. After speaking these words, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine them echoing into the universe, creating a ripple that returns to you multiplied. Feel gratitude as if it is already done, creating a daily spoken word ritual. Florence encouraged her students to make the spoken word a daily practice. Just as you brush your teeth every morning, you can clean your consciousness with daily affirmations. Choose 1 or 2 prosperity statements that resonate with you. Speak them with calm confidence in the morning, throughout the day, and before you sleep. The repetition imprints new beliefs into your subconscious. For example, when paying a bill, instead of grumbling, say, I rejoice in the circulation of money. My supply is endless, inexhaustible, and immediate. When you face a financial challenge, speak. This situation is divinely resolved. What is mine by divine right cannot be withheld from me. Over time, you will notice your language changing naturally. You will stop reinforcing lack and start reinforcing abundance without effort, living by the creative power of words. When you begin to live consciously aware of your words, you will see the outer world shift. Opportunities that seemed blocked will open. Solutions will appear that your logic could not have created. You will feel more empowered because you'll realize you are not at the mercy of the economy or chance. You are shaping your reality through the words you speak. Florence summed it up simply. Your word is your wand. Whatever you consistently speak becomes the reality you experience. So wield your words wisely. Use them to call forth prosperity, peace, and joy. Final thought. The power is already within you. The universe is listening, always ready to respond. What you speak today becomes the experience you will walk into tomorrow. So ask yourself, what am I planting with my words? Am I speaking life and abundance? Or am I repeating the language of lack? Right now, you can choose. You can choose to speak as the heir of divine supply. You can choose to declare your oneness with infinite abundance. And when you do, the unseen will begin to take shape in your favor. The law of divine imagination. Everything that exists in the material world was once first imagined. The home you live in, the clothes you wear, even the device you're reading this on. None of it appeared by accident. Someone saw it in their mind before it became real. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that imagination is the spiritual blueprint for creation. She explained that the universe operates on mental pictures. What you consistently see and feel within will eventually take shape in your outer life. If you hold an image of lack, struggle, or limitation, life mirrors that back to you. But if you hold an image of abundance, freedom, and ease, life will respond accordingly. Divine imagination is not just daydreaming. It is a sacred act of creation. It is your direct link to infinite intelligence, a way to call forth the unseen into the seen. Seeing wealth in your mind before it appears. Florence taught that to experience wealth, you must first see yourself as wealthy within. You cannot attract prosperity while picturing yourself as poor or lacking. The inner image must change before the outer reality can. Think of it like planting a seed. You do not see the tree immediately, but you know the image of the tree already exists inside the seed. Your imagination is the seed of your future. When you imagine yourself living in abundance, you are planting the mental pattern that will grow into your physical experience. For example, if you want financial freedom, you must first visualize what that looks and feels like. Imagine yourself paying bills with ease, living in a beautiful space, enjoying the freedom to give generously. Feel the relief and joy of having more than enough. That feeling creates a magnetic vibration that draws the right opportunities, ideas, and channels to you. Florence said, "Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving." If you cannot see yourself having it in your mind, you cannot hold it in your hand. Florence's visualization techniques for creating supply. Florence gave her students simple visualization techniques to open their imagination to abundance. She kept it practical, not overly complicated. One technique she taught was seeing your desire as already fulfilled. For example, if you needed money for something important, she suggested closing your eyes and imagining yourself already in possession of it. If it was rent money, see yourself joyfully handing it over without fear. If it was a new opportunity, imagine receiving the letter or call with good news. Another technique was surrounding your desire with light. She would say, "Wrap it in light and see it done." This meant picturing your goal or need surrounded by golden glow, symbolizing divine protection and certainty. She also encouraged visualizing for others. If someone was struggling financially, you could hold an image of them prosperous and free. By doing so, you weren't forcing your will. You were aligning with the highest good for them. And finally, she emphasized the importance of adding emotion to your visualization. Simply seeing the image is not enough. You must feel it. Feel the gratitude as if it is already done. Feel the joy and relief as if the supply has already arrived. That feeling is the key that unlocks the spiritual law. Why imagination is a direct link to infinite intelligence. Many people dismiss imagination as childish or unrealistic, but Florence saw it as one of the most powerful spiritual faculties. When you imagine, you are tuning into a higher intelligence beyond your conscious mind. You are accessing the same creative power that designed the entire universe. Infinite intelligence speaks to you through inspired images and ideas. Have you ever had a sudden flash of an idea that felt exciting and clear? That is divine imagination at work. When you quiet the fearful mind and open to possibility, you allow infinite intelligence to reveal what is already available for you. Florence said that imagination is the scissors of the mind. It cuts out the shape of what you desire from the invisible substance of life. Without imagination, you are stuck repeating the same patterns. With it, you can step into new realities that have never existed before. She reminded her students that everything you see around you is the result of someone's imagination. Money, jobs, homes, businesses, they were all imagined first. So if you want a new experience of wealth, you must first dare to imagine it, even if your current reality looks very different. A short, guided visualization practice. Let's do a short, guided visualization to connect with divine imagination and open the flow of abundance. Find a comfortable position. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Let your body relax. Close your eyes if you can. Now imagine you are standing in a beautiful golden light. This light represents infinite supply. It is warm, comforting, and endless. You feel completely safe and supported. In this golden light, see yourself living in total financial freedom. Imagine your bank account overflowing. Imagine all your needs met with ease. Picture yourself paying every bill without stress, giving generously to others, and enjoying the things you love. Notice the details. What does your home look like? What kind of experiences are you enjoying? Who is with you? Now, feel the emotions. Feel the relief of knowing you are fully provided for. Feel the joy of abundance. Feel gratitude as if it is already real. Say silently or aloud, "I see my life overflowing with abundance. I am one with infinite supply. It is done. It is done. It is done." Take one more deep breath, holding that feeling of gratitude. When you are ready, gently open your eyes, carrying that vibration with you. Living with divine imagination. The more you practice divine imagination, the more natural it becomes. Over time, your inner picture of yourself changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is struggling and start seeing yourself as someone who is always supported by the universe. And as Florence promised, the outer will eventually match the inner. Opportunities will appear. The right people will show up. Ideas will flow. It may seem like magic, but it is simply the law of imagination at work. Florence often said, "Man's only enemy is his own limited imagination." If you can see in your mind, you can bring it into your life. Final thought. Right now, you have access to the same creative power that shaped the stars. Your imagination is not a fantasy. It is a preview of what is possible. The more you honor and use it, the more you align with the source of infinite supply. So dare to imagine yourself wealthy. Dare to see yourself free. Dare to picture a life beyond your current circumstances. Because in the unseen, it already exists. Your job is simply to bring it into view. Faith, the bridge between you and source. Faith is the invisible bridge that connects you to the source of all supply. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that faith is the spiritual currency of wealth, the unseen substance that draws your good into form. Without faith, even the most powerful affirmations or visualizations feel empty. With faith, even the smallest words or actions carry miraculous power. Faith is not just blind belief. It is an inner knowing that what you desire is already provided for in the spiritual realm and is now making its way into your physical experience. It's the confidence that the universe is unfailingly generous, even when your outer circumstances seem to say otherwise. Most people live by sight, believing only what they can see and touch. But Florence reminded her students that to manifest wealth, you must live by inner sight, trusting the unseen even when the seen doesn't yet match. Faith as the spiritual currency of wealth. Florence often said, faith knows it is already received and acts accordingly. Think about that for a moment. When you truly have faith, you no longer beg, chase, or panic. You act as if the answer is already on its way. You walk differently, speak differently, and even think differently because you know the supply is already there. Faith is like spiritual money. Just as you exchange physical money for goods in the material world, you exchange faith for manifestations in the spiritual realm. When you have deep faith, you send a clear signal to the universe. I am ready to receive. Without faith, you block the flow. Doubt is like a wall that says, I'm not sure it will work for me, and the universe simply reflects that hesitation. But when you cultivate unwavering faith, you create an open channel for divine supply to flow freely. How to build unshakable faith in supply. So how do you strengthen your faith? Florence taught several ways to build it gradually until it becomes unshakable. Remember past answered prayers. Think about times when something you needed came at the perfect moment. Remind yourself that the same power that helped you before will help you again. Read or listen to stories of other success. Florence often shared testimonies of her students who received money, jobs, or opportunities through spiritual law. Hearing these stories expands your belief in what's possible. Speak faith-filled words, even when you feel unsure. Your words shape your inner state. When you declare, I am divinely provided for, you are training your subconscious to accept it as true. Take small steps of trust. Faith grows when you act on it. For example, instead of hoarding money in fear, give a small amount joyfully, affirming that it returns multiplied. Each time you see evidence of supply, your faith becomes stronger. Practice seeing beyond appearances. When you face a financial challenge, don't focus on the lack. Look deeper. Say to yourself, this is only temporary. The spiritual supply is already here. The more you train your mind to look past the visible, the more natural faith becomes. Florence described faith as a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. You don't need perfect faith all at once. Even a small seed of faith, nurtured daily, will grow into unshakable trust. Stories of Florence's students receiving money out of nowhere. Florence loved sharing real-life examples of faith in action. These stories helped her students see that the law of supply truly works. One of her students desperately needed a certain amount of money by the end of the week. Instead of panicking, she began affirming, God is my immediate and unfailing supply. All that is mine by divine right now comes to me. She refused to entertain fear. Within days, an unexpected refund check arrived in the exact amount she needed. Another student visualized a large sum of money for a specific purpose. She held the image in faith, even though she had no idea how it could happen. Out of nowhere, a distant relative, whom she hadn't heard from in years, sent her a gift that completely covered her need. There was also a man who needed funds for his business. He faithfully affirmed, unexpected doors now open, and unexpected channels are free. Soon after, he met someone at a social event who connected him to an investor, solving his financial problem. In all these cases, the outer world seemed stuck at first. But when these people shifted their inner state to faith, the universe reorganized itself in surprising ways. Florence often said, when man is faithful to his vision, the supply appears, sometimes through channels he could never have imagined. A faith-strengthening affirmation practice. Let's do a simple practice to strengthen your faith right now. Find a quiet space. Take a deep breath. Relax your body and mind. Bring to mind something you desire, perhaps a financial need or a new opportunity. Now, instead of worrying about how it will come, imagine it is already fulfilled. See yourself having it. Feel the relief and gratitude. Now speak these affirmations slowly and with conviction. I live in a universe of endless supply. I am fully supported by divine law. All that I need is already prepared and on its way. My faith opens the door to miracles. I trust the unseen more than I fear the seen. Money, opportunities, and blessings flow to me now in perfect ways. Rest in silence for a moment. Feel the calm that comes from knowing it is already done. End by saying aloud, "It is done." I walk in faith, and I see the evidence now. Doing this daily shifts your inner state from fear to trust. Over time, your mind stops doubting, and faith becomes your natural way of living as if it's already done. Faith is more than a feeling. It's a way of acting. When you truly believe, you begin to behave as if your desire is already yours. You stop making fear-based decisions. You let go of desperation. You take inspired steps with calm confidence. Florence called this acting rich before you are rich, not in reckless spending, but in your attitude. If you know the supply is already secured in the spiritual realm, you no longer cling to lack. You move through life with ease. This shift in energy is magnetic. The universe responds to your vibration of certainty by bringing matching experiences into your reality. Final thought. Faith is the golden bridge between you and the infinite source. Without it, you stay stuck in fear and limitation. With it, you unlock doors you never knew existed. So right now, choose to trust the unseen more than your current circumstances. Choose to believe that the universe is for you, not against you. Choose to walk across the bridge of faith into a life of abundance. As Florence said, faith knows it is already received and acts accordingly. If you can hold that knowing, even for a moment, you've already connected to the supply. The law of circulation. Keep money flowing. Money is like water. It's meant to flow. It's not designed to sit in one place, unmoving, gathering dust. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that wealth is alive when it circulates. When you keep it moving, giving, receiving, spending with joy, it multiplies. When you hoard it in fear, it stagnates and the flow slows down. This principle is called the law of circulation. It says that everything you give out, whether it's money, love, or energy, returns to you multiplied. Just like the ocean waves always return to the shore, money you release in faith comes back to you in some new and often surprising way. Why hoarding creates stagnation? Most people believe they must hold on tightly to every dollar. They think, if I let this go, I might never get it back. This mindset is based on fear, and fear always closes the flow. Florence compared hoarding money to damming a river. When you block the flow, the water becomes stagnant and lifeless. In the same way, when you cling to money in fear, you choke the very energy of abundance. Instead of feeling richer, you actually feel poorer because you're constantly focused on loss. She reminded her students that money is not the true source of wealth. It's simply a channel. The real source is the infinite supply of the universe. When you trust that supply, you don't feel afraid to let money flow. Hoarding sends a signal to the universe. I don't believe more will come. But when you allow circulation, you say, I trust that money is always replenished. And that trust keeps the flow alive. Florence's insight on giving as opening the channel to receive. Florence taught that giving is the key to receiving. Not because you buy blessings with charity, but because giving keeps your channel of supply open. She explained it this way. Imagine breathing. You can't just inhale and hold your breath forever. You have to exhale to make room for the next inhale. Giving is like exhaling. It creates space for the next inflow. This is why Florence often told her students, you cannot outgive God. When you give freely, without fear or expectation, the universe mirrors that generosity back to you in unexpected ways. One of her favorite affirmations about giving was, I give freely and fearlessly, and it returns to me multiplied in wonderful ways. She shared many stories of people who gave even when they felt they had little and then received far more than they imagined. For example, one student struggling with money decided to give a small amount to someone in greater need. Within days, she received an unexpected payment that was 10 times the amount she gave. This isn't about reckless spending. It's about releasing fear around money and keeping the flow alive through small acts of generosity. The spiritual principle of circulation versus fear-based saving. Does this mean you shouldn't save money? Florence didn't say savings were wrong, but she warned against fear-based saving. If you save out of anxiety, thinking, I have to hold on tight or I'll never have enough, you're operating from belief in scarcity. That energy keeps you trapped in fear, and ironically, even your savings feel insufficient. On the other hand, if you save joyfully, thinking, I'm setting this aside knowing more will always come. You're still aligned with the flow. It's not the act of saving that blocks prosperity. It's the fearful attitude behind it. Florence's approach was simple. Don't hoard in fear. Don't cling to money thinking it's your only lifeline. Don't give recklessly to impress or out of guilt. That also blocks the flow because it's not genuine. Do keep money circulating with love and trust. Pay bills with gratitude. Give with joy. Spend on yourself without guilt. She reminded her students that money must stay alive. If it doesn't move, it loses its energy. A safe way to give without fear of loss. Many people resist giving because they're afraid they won't have enough for themselves. Florence offered a simple but powerful solution. Give with intention and affirm the return. For example, when giving money, whether it's a tip, a donation, or even paying a bill, silently affirm. This money is blessed and returns to me multiplied, under grace in perfect ways. This shifts your giving from fear to faith. You're not losing anything. You're planting a seed. Just as a farmer releases seeds into the soil, knowing they'll come back as a harvest, you can give knowing it will return in a greater form. Florence also recommended giving in alignment with your heart. If you feel joy when giving, it's the right kind of giving. If you feel resentment or pressure, it's not true circulation, it's just obligation. She believed you could even bless your spending. When paying for groceries, rent, or any expense, you can say, I rejoice in the circulation of money. My supply is endless, inexhaustible, and immediate. This turns every transaction into an act of faith, keeping the flow alive. Real-life stories of the law of circulation. Florence's students often shared stories showing how circulation opened doors for them. One man was fearful about paying his rent, holding on to every dollar. Florence advised him to bless the rent payment instead of resenting it. He did so, affirming, I rejoice in the payment of this rent. It returns to me multiplied. Within days, he received an unexpected business opportunity that covered not only the rent, but gave him extra. Another woman struggling with money decided to give a small donation to a friend's cause, even though she worried she couldn't afford it. She gave joyfully, affirming abundance. Soon after, she received a surprise inheritance she didn't know was coming. Florence herself once shared how a friend gave away her last coin to someone in need. Instead of panicking, she said, I could give this freely, knowing more will come. That same day, she unexpectedly received a large sum of money from an old debt that was repaid. These examples show that giving does not diminish you. It activates a cycle of return. A quick practice to activate circulation. Here's a simple way to practice the law of circulation today. Choose a small act of giving. It could be giving money to someone in need, tipping generously, buying a coffee for a friend, or donating online. As you give, silently affirm, I give this freely and fearlessly. It returns to me multiplied in perfect ways. Feel gratitude. Imagine the ripple effect your giving creates, helping someone else, which then comes back to you in another form. Watch for signs. Stay open to unexpected channels of return. You don't need to give large amounts. Even small, intentional giving keeps the flow alive. Living in the flow of circulation. When you live by the law of circulation, you stop feeling tense about money. You no longer cling to it out of fear. Instead, you trust that there's always more where that came from. This mindset creates a relaxed confidence. You enjoy giving, you enjoy receiving, and you enjoy spending. Money becomes a joyful servant rather than a heavy burden. Florence said it beautifully. You must make your demands upon the universe with faith and then allow it to flow back to you in countless ways. When you keep money moving with faith and gratitude, you never run out because you've aligned yourself with the endless flow of divine supply. The law of circulation is simple. What you give out returns. When you allow money to flow freely, without fear, guilt, or resistance, you create space for more to enter. So today, ask yourself, am I hoarding in fear? Or am I circulating money with trust? Start small. Give something joyfully. Pay a bill with gratitude. Bless every dollar that leaves your hand. And watch how the universe multiplies it and sends it back in wonderful ways. Forgiveness. Clearing the path for infinite supply. Forgiveness is one of the most overlooked keys to prosperity. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that resentment is like a spiritual blockage that clogs the natural flow of money and abundance. You can affirm, visualize, and pray for wealth. But if your heart is heavy with bitterness, anger, or guilt, you are unconsciously shutting the door to your own good. Forgiveness isn't about approving harmful behavior or pretending something didn't hurt. It's about releasing the energetic burden you're carrying. It's choosing peace over poison. When you forgive, you free yourself. And in that freedom, you create space for abundance to enter. How resentment energetically clogs money flow. Think of resentment like a knot in your energy. When you hold grudges against others, or even yourself, that negative emotion takes up space in your mind and body. It drains your creative energy and keeps you stuck in the past. Florence explained that the universe is always trying to give you good things, but resentment acts like a closed door. You're so focused on old pain that you can't receive new blessings. She would often say, when you hold resentment, you are binding yourself to that person or situation with invisible cords. You must cut the cords to set yourself free. Resentment also keeps you in a state of lack. When you're angry at someone for wronging you, maybe they borrowed money and didn't return it, or treated you unfairly, you're unknowingly affirming, I was cheated, I lost something. That vibration of loss attracts more experiences of loss. Forgiveness, on the other hand, dissolves the knot. It clears your heart, raises your vibration, and opens the channel for supply to flow again. Florence's forgiveness prayers for unblocking prosperity. Florence gave her students simple but powerful prayers to release resentment and unblock the flow of abundance. One of her most famous forgiveness prayers was, I fully and freely forgive everything and everybody who has ever hurt me. I release them and I set myself free. This situation is dissolved in divine love. I am free and they are free. All things are cleared up between us now and forever. She encouraged people to repeat this daily, especially when thinking about someone who caused pain. Even if you don't feel forgiving at first, the act of saying it begins to shift the energy. Another prayer she recommended when feeling cheated was, I deny injustice and affirm the divine right of my life. Whatever was taken from me is now restored, or something better takes its place, under grace in perfect ways. These prayers remind you that you don't need to hold on to resentment to get justice. The universe has its own perfect way of restoring balance. Why forgiving yourself is just as important. Many people carry guilt about past mistakes, bad financial decisions, missed opportunities, or times they felt they failed. This self-blame is just as toxic as resentment toward others. Florence explained that you cannot punish yourself into prosperity. If you constantly replay past regrets, you're affirming that you're unworthy of new blessings. She encouraged her students to be gentle with themselves, saying, you did the best you could with the light you had at the time. Self-forgiveness is an act of self-love, and self-love is magnetic to abundance. A simple self-forgiveness affirmation is, I forgive myself for all past mistakes. I did the best I could with what I knew. I now release the past and open my heart to divine supply. When you forgive yourself, you stop carrying shame like a heavy bag. You start feeling lighter, clearer, and more receptive to new opportunities. A quick guided forgiveness ritual. Let's do a short forgiveness ritual together right now to clear any lingering resentment or guilt. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Allow your body to relax. Bring to mind someone you feel hurt by. It could be a person, a situation, or even yourself. Notice how it feels in your body when you think of this. Now visualize that person or situation standing in front of you, surrounded by soft golden light. Imagine divine love flowing through this light, dissolving all the old pain. Say silently or aloud, I forgive you. I release you. I set you free. You are no longer bound to me, and I'm no longer bound to you. This is cleared in divine love now. Now place your hand on your heart and say, I forgive myself. I release all guilt and regret. I am free, and I am worthy of infinite supply. Take another deep breath. Imagine the golden light expanding around you, clearing your energy and filling you with peace. End by saying, I am free, and all channels of my good are now open. I welcome abundance with a clean heart. Notice how your body feels lighter after doing this. Even a few moments of forgiveness can shift your energy immediately. Real-life examples of forgiveness unlocking prosperity. Florence often shared stories of students who experienced financial breakthroughs after practicing forgiveness. One woman was owed a large sum of money by a former business partner who refused to pay her back. She was filled with anger and bitterness, and her finances kept getting worse. Florence told her to stop focusing on revenge and instead forgive him completely. She resisted at first, but finally surrendered and began affirming, I forgive this person. I release this debt to divine justice. My good is restored in perfect ways. Within weeks, a completely unrelated business deal came through, bringing her even more money than she was owed. Another man felt guilty for years about making poor financial decisions that left him in debt. Florence guided him through self-forgiveness. As he released his shame, his creativity returned, and he started a new business that became very successful. There was also a young student who couldn't find work. After doing a forgiveness prayer for his parents, with whom he had unresolved anger, he suddenly received multiple job offers. These examples show that forgiveness doesn't just heal the heart, it clears the spiritual roadblocks that stop money from reaching you. Living in a state of forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't always a one-time act. It's a practice. Each day, you may need to release little irritations or old memories that resurface. Florence advised her students to make forgiveness a daily habit. She suggested saying before bed, "I forgive everyone who hurt me today, and I release all that is not of divine love. I am at peace, and tomorrow is a fresh new day of blessings." When you live in a state of forgiveness, your energy stays clear. You're no longer dragging the weight of the past into the present. And in that clear, light-hearted state, you naturally attract more prosperity. Forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. It's about freeing yourself so that abundance can find its way into your life without obstruction. When you release resentment, you release the energy of lack. When you forgive yourself, you reclaim your worthiness. And when you live with a forgiving heart, you keep the channels of supply wide open. So today, ask yourself, who or what do I need to forgive to open the way for more good? Then take a small step. Say the prayer. Do the ritual. Let go. As Florence beautifully said, no man is your enemy. No man is your friend. Every man is your teacher. Forgive the lessons, bless the past, and watch as infinite supply rushes in to fill the space you've cleared. Intuition, the voice of source within you. Have you ever had a sudden feeling to call someone, and it led to an opportunity? Or a quiet inner knowing to take a certain step, and it worked out perfectly? That is intuition, the inner guidance system that connects you to the source of all supply. Florence Scovel Shinn called intuition the still, small voice, the gentle nudge of divine intelligence within you. She taught that the universe always knows the fastest, easiest way to bring you your good, but you must be willing to listen and act. When it comes to money, intuition is one of your greatest allies. It will guide you toward the right opportunities, ideas, and decisions that align with your highest good. When you strengthen your intuition, you stop chasing random opportunities and start moving with divine precision. How Source guides you to money-making ideas and opportunities. The source of all supply is infinitely creative. It knows countless ways to bring you wealth, many beyond your conscious mind's imagination. But these ideas and opportunities don't always come as loud announcements. They arrive as quiet whispers, feelings, or sudden insights. For example, you might feel a subtle urge to explore a new skill. You might coincidentally meet someone who tells you about a profitable opportunity. Or you may wake up with a fresh idea that feels exciting and right. These are not random. They're downloads from Source, directing you to your next step. Florence often said, "Infinite Spirit opens the way for my immediate and endless supply. I am divinely guided in all my ways." She believed that when you stay in alignment with Spirit, the guidance for your prosperity is always available. Your intuition might lead you to a new way of earning or expanding your income, the perfect timing for a business move or investment, the right people who can help you, avoiding a bad financial decision before it's too late. It's like having an inner GPS connected to the divine mind that sees the bigger picture. Florence's emphasis on listening to the still small voice. Florence reminded her students that intuition is often quiet and subtle, unlike the loud voice of fear or ego. She called it the still small voice because it doesn't force itself on you. It gently nudges you in the right direction. She said, "Intuition is a spiritual faculty and does not explain, but simply points the way." That means you won't always get the full explanation of why you're being guided to take a certain step. You may just feel a sense of peace or rightness about it. Many of Florence's students would come to her with questions like, "Should I invest in this? Should I take this job? Should I trust this person?" And she would always redirect them inward, saying, "What does your inner voice say?" Infinite intelligence within you already knows the answer. She encouraged her students to trust that their intuition is the voice of God within, and that it will never lead them astray if they truly listen. Practical ways to recognize intuitive nudges for financial moves. How can you tell the difference between intuition and fear, wishful thinking, or random thoughts? Florence gave some simple ways to recognize true guidance. Intuition feels calm and clear, not anxious. Fear is loud and urgent. Intuition is quiet but firm, bringing a sense of inner peace. It often comes spontaneously. You might suddenly think of someone's name, feel inspired to take a certain action, or receive a fresh idea while doing something unrelated. It feels right in your body. True intuition carries a feeling of lightness or expansion. Fear feels heavy or constricting. It aligns with love and harmony. Real intuition never asks you to harm yourself or others. It always leads toward greater good for all involved. It repeats gently if you ignore it. If something keeps coming back to you in a soft but persistent way, it's probably your intuition reminding you. For example, you might keep thinking about starting a side business. You ignore it, but the idea keeps coming back in different ways, through conversations, articles, or dreams. That's a sign to pay attention. Florence suggested pausing before any major financial decision and asking, Infinite Spirit, is this the right step for me? Then sit in silence and notice what comes. The first gentle impression is often the answer. A simple daily practice to strengthen intuitive guidance. Like a muscle, intuition grows stronger the more you use it. Here's a daily practice inspired by Florence's teachings to sharpen your intuitive connection. Morning alignment. Each morning, before you start your day, say, Infinite Spirit, guide me today. Let me hear and follow the still small voice within. Show me the way to my richest good. Take a few quiet moments to feel your mind settle. Imagine a beam of light connecting your heart and mind to divine intelligence. Throughout the day, before making any financial decision, big or small, pause and ask inwardly, is this right for me? Notice your first impression. Does it feel light, peaceful, or expansive? Or does it feel tight, heavy, or doubtful? Trust the feeling. Evening reflection. At night, review your day. Were there any moments where you followed a nudge and it led to something good? Any moments you ignored it and saw why later? Thank your intuition for guiding you, even in small ways. Gratitude strengthens the connection. Quiet listening time. Set aside 5 to 10 minutes daily for silence. No phone, no distractions. Just breathe and listen. Sometimes the best ideas and guidance come in these quiet spaces. Over time, you'll notice that your inner voice becomes clearer and easier to trust. Real-life examples of intuition unlocking prosperity. Florence shared many stories of students whose prosperity came directly from following intuitive guidance. One student was looking for work and felt strongly guided to visit a certain building, even though she didn't know why. She followed the nudge and ended up meeting someone in the lobby who offered her the exact job she wanted. Another man wanted to start a business, but didn't know what kind. One night, he woke up with a clear idea in his mind, a unique service that no one in his area was offering. He followed the idea, and it became a successful venture. There was also a woman who was about to sign a contract that looked perfect on paper, but something inside felt uneasy. She listened to her intuition and declined. Later, she found out the deal would have caused major losses. These stories show that intuition can save you from mistakes and lead you to the right doors, if you're willing to listen. Living as an intuitive creator. When you live by intuition, you stop feeling lost or desperate about money. You know that the source within you always knows the next step. You no longer chase opportunities in panic. Instead, you move calmly and wisely. Florence would remind her students, there is no competition on the spiritual plane. What is yours will come to you through the right channels, at the right time, guided by your inner voice. When you trust your intuition, you align with the fastest, easiest route to your abundance. You waste less energy on trial and error, and more doors open naturally. Intuition is the divine whisper within you. It's the direct link between you and infinite supply. When you strengthen it, you'll always know what to do, where to go, and who to connect with for your highest prosperity. So today, take a deep breath and affirm, I'm divinely guided in all my ways. The still small voice within me leads me to my richest good now. Then listen, trust, and act. The universe is ready to guide you to wealth beyond what you can imagine. The hidden role of self-worth in attracting supply. One of the most powerful yet overlooked truths about prosperity is this. You cannot consistently attract what you secretly feel unworthy of. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that wealth begins in your self-concept. If deep inside you believe you're undeserving, unworthy, or not the kind of person who can have abundance, you'll unconsciously block it. You might work harder, try affirmations, or chase opportunities, but the inner belief of, I'm not enough, will keep repelling the very supply you're asking for. The good news? Self-worth is not something you have to earn. It is your birthright. Florence reminded her students that you are a child of God, and therefore your inheritance is unlimited supply. When you truly claim your divine inheritance, you naturally open the way for wealth to flow. Why feeling undeserving pushes wealth away? Imagine two people offered the same opportunity. One thinks, of course I deserve this. I am capable, worthy, and this is aligned with my life. The other secretly thinks, I don't know if I'm good enough. Maybe I'll mess it up. Maybe I shouldn't have this. Even if they both take the same external action, their inner belief shapes the outcome. The one who feels worthy moves with confidence, attracts support, and allows blessings to flow. The one who feels unworthy hesitates, sabotages, or rejects the opportunity in subtle ways. Florence often said, no man can receive what he does not feel worthy of. When you feel undeserving of wealth, you might undercharge for your work or accept less than your worth. spend impulsively, or lose money as a way of unconsciously proving you can't hold it. Avoid asking for help or opportunities because you fear rejection. Delay taking inspired action because deep down you believe it won't work for you. This is why simply working harder or repeating affirmations isn't enough if you still carry a deep belief of unworthiness. You have to shift how you see yourself. Florence's teachings on claiming your divine inheritance. Florence reminded her students that abundance is not something you earn from the world. It's already yours by divine right. She would say, God is the giver of all gifts, and his gifts are without sorrow. You have an inheritance of riches, health, and happiness simply because you are his child. When you truly grasp that you are one with the source of all supply, feelings of unworthiness start to dissolve. You stop thinking, who am I to have this? And instead say, who am I not to have this? I am a channel for divine abundance. She often gave her students this affirmation. I'm a child of God. My supply is endless, inexhaustible, and immediate. I claim my divine inheritance now. Claiming your divine inheritance doesn't mean feeling superior to others. It means recognizing your natural connection to infinite supply, just like the sun shines equally for all. How to rebuild your self-concept as someone who is richly provided for. So how do you shift from feeling unworthy to embodying the truth that you are richly provided for? Replace old stories with new truths. Many people carry childhood programming like, money is hard to get, we can't afford that, or people like us don't get rich. Recognize these as inherited beliefs, not facts. Start telling yourself a new story. I come from divine source, which is unlimited. Wealth flows to me easily now. Treat yourself as valuable. How you treat yourself sets the tone for how others and even money treat you. Begin honoring your time, your energy, and your needs. Even small acts, like dressing in a way that makes you feel good or decluttering your space, signal to your subconscious that you are worthy of beauty and abundance. Celebrate every bit of good. When money comes in, no matter how small, receive it with gratitude and joy. Say, I am richly blessed and more is coming. This trains your mind to expect good things instead of brushing them off as not enough. Stop comparing yourself to others. Self-worth crumbles when you measure yourself against someone else's journey. Remember, your abundance path is unique. Focus on your own alignment, not competition. See wealth as a natural state. Wealth is not special or rare in divine order. It's as natural as air. You don't question whether you deserve to breathe. You simply accept it. Treat wealth the same way, something freely available when you allow it. As you practice these steps, your self-concept begins to shift. You stop feeling like someone trying to become worthy, and instead embody the truth that you've been worthy all along. A self-worth affirmation sequence. Let's do a quick affirmation sequence to reprogram your self-worth around money. You can speak these aloud, slowly, and with feeling. I am a child of the infinite. I am one with the source of all supply. Feel the truth that you are connected to the same power that created the universe. I am worthy of wealth, joy, and success simply because I exist. There is no condition you need to meet to be deserving. All feelings of unworthiness are dissolved now. I release the past and step into my divine identity. See old limiting beliefs melting away like ice in the sun. I am richly provided for. I receive my good with gratitude and ease. Feel yourself opening like a vessel ready to be filled. My supply is endless, inexhaustible, and immediate. I claim my divine inheritance now. Imagine yourself standing in a limitless ocean of abundance, knowing it can never run out. Repeat these daily, especially in the morning, to reset your inner sense of worthiness. Real-life examples of self-worth unlocking prosperity. Florence loved sharing stories of students who struggled financially until they changed their self-concept. One woman always undercharged for her services because she felt insecure about her skills. After working with Florence, she began affirming her divine worth daily. Soon she confidently raised her rates, and not only did clients happily pay, but she attracted better opportunities that honored her value. Another man was constantly in debt because he believed he wasn't good with money. Florence had him repeat, I am divinely guided in all my financial affairs. I am worthy of wealth and handle it wisely. As his self-image shifted, he began receiving new income streams and managing money with ease. Even people who had experienced loss or failure found that as soon as they forgave themselves and reclaimed their worth, new doors opened, sometimes in ways they couldn't have imagined. Living as someone who deserves abundance. When you embody self-worth, you stop asking for crumbs and start expecting a feast. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop doubting whether blessings are too much for you. Florence would often say, you must act as if you're already the person who has what you desire. You are not begging for good. You're claiming what is already yours. This doesn't create arrogance. It creates alignment. You realize you're not trying to force wealth. You're allowing what is already divinely yours. The hidden key to attracting supply is not just action or affirmation. It's knowing you are worthy of the good you seek. When you drop the illusion of unworthiness and embrace your true identity as a child of the infinite, wealth flows naturally. So today, place your hand on your heart and say, I am worthy. I am enough. I am richly provided for, now and always. As you live in this truth, you'll notice how opportunities, money, and blessings begin to find their way to you with less effort, because you finally believe you deserve them. Releasing the fear of running out. One of the deepest blocks to prosperity is the fear of running out. It's the quiet anxiety that whispers, what if there's not enough? What if I lose what I have? What if the future isn't secure? This fear keeps you stuck in survival mode. It makes you hold on too tightly to money, relationships, or opportunities. It stops you from taking inspired risks. And most of all, it cuts you off in the natural flow of abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that fear of lack is an illusion. She reminded her students that your supply doesn't come from a job, a client, or even your bank account. It comes from the ever-renewing source of all life. When you trust that source, you realize there is no running out. The same power that provided for you yesterday is already providing for you today and tomorrow. Let's explore how to dissolve this fear and shift into a state of overflow. Why fear of loss or future scarcity keeps you stuck? When you fear running out, your thoughts and energy contract. You become defensive, hesitant, and closed off. Instead of being a magnet for abundance, you create resistance. For example, you might avoid investing in yourself or your dreams because you fear you'll waste money. You might hoard what you have, but still feel poor because you're focused on what could be lost. You might stay in a job or situation you dislike because you're terrified nothing better will come. Florence said it simply. Fear is inverted faith. It is faith in evil instead of good. When you fear lack, you're placing your faith in the idea that the universe is limited. But the truth is supply is infinite. Just like the ocean waves never stop, the flow of good in your life can never truly run dry, unless you block it with fear. Florence's idea of trusting the ever-renewing supply. Florence often reminded her students that God, or infinite spirit, is not a limited supplier. The universe is a renewing source, constantly creating more. Just as nature renews itself with every season, your supply is always being replenished. She used the metaphor of the ocean. If you take a bucket of water from the ocean, does the ocean run out? Of course not. In the same way, every bit of money you spend or give is like a bucket taken from an infinite ocean. More is always available. Her affirmation for this was, there is a never-failing supply for every demand. I am always provided for. She taught that when you truly understand this, you stop clutching at money and fear. You can pay bills, give, and invest in your dreams knowing that the source will replace it, often in ways you didn't expect. How to shift from survival mode to overflow mode. So how do you stop living in fear of lack and start living in overflow? Here are 3 powerful shifts Florence taught. See money as energy, not a fixed pile. Many people see money like a static pile of coins. If they spend some, the pile gets smaller and they panic. Florence taught to see money as energy that flows. What leaves your hands is already in motion to return multiplied. Focus on the source, not the channel. Jobs, clients, and investments are channels for your supply, but they are not the source. The source is infinite and can create new channels anytime. If one channel closes, another will open. This understanding removes the fear of losing a particular income stream. Act as if you already have overflow. Fear of lack makes you act small. Florence encouraged her students to act with faith, to give generously, pay bills joyfully, and make decisions from a place of trust. When you act as if you already have more than enough, you align with the energy of more than enough. When you shift your mindset, you naturally move from survival mode, holding, hoarding, worrying, to overflow mode, trusting, giving, receiving. A guided exercise to dissolve fear of lack. Let's do a short, guided exercise to release fear of running out and reconnect with the truth of ever-renewing supply. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, imagine letting go of any tension in your body. Visualize a beautiful golden light above your head. This light represents infinite source, the endless ocean of supply. It's pure, warm, and abundant. See this golden light gently flowing down into your body. It fills your heart, your mind, and your entire being. Feel how safe and supported you are in this moment. Now imagine standing at the shore of a vast ocean. This ocean represents all the wealth, opportunities, and blessings available to you. It stretches beyond what you can see. Take a moment to feel the truth. No matter how many waves crash on the shore, more keep coming. The ocean never runs out. Say silently. My supply is like this ocean. Endless. Ever renewing. I cannot run out. Now bring to mind any fear you've had about money or the future. See it as a small, dark cloud in your hands. Look at it, acknowledge it, and say, I release this fear. It is not the truth of who I am. Then gently place the cloud into the ocean, where it dissolves instantly into light. Take another deep breath and affirm, I am one with infinite supply. I trust the renewing flow of abundance in my life. I am always provided for. Feel yourself surrounded by peace, trust, and a sense of overflow. When you're ready, open your eyes, carrying this feeling of safety and abundance with you. This simple exercise helps remind your subconscious that you're connected to something far greater than a paycheck or a bank account. Real-life stories of trusting ever-renewing supply. Florence often shared stories of people who stopped fearing lack and saw immediate shifts. One woman was terrified to spend the last bit of her savings. Florence told her, spend it with joy. What you give out returns multiplied. With trembling faith, she paid her overdue bills and even gave a small donation. Within days, she received an unexpected check that covered everything she needed. Another student lost his job and panicked about how he would survive. Florence taught him to affirm daily, new channels of supply are now open to me. I am divinely guided and always provided for. Instead of collapsing into fear, he stayed calm, trusted the process, and soon found a better-paying job that aligned with his talents. These examples show that when you stop clinging to fear and trust in the ever-renewing flow, life always finds a way to support you. Living in the flow of trust. When you release the fear of running out, you start living with more freedom. You stop micromanaging every dollar. You stop obsessing about the future. You move through life with confidence, knowing that the same power that provided for you in the past will provide for you now and in the future. Florence would say, the moment you let go of fear, the supply rushes in. You cannot serve both fear and faith. Choose faith, and the universe will meet you halfway. Trusting the ever-renewing supply doesn't mean being reckless. It means acting from calm confidence instead of panic. It means knowing that no matter what happens, you are supported by something infinite. The fear of running out is a lie created by the limited mind. The truth is, you are connected to an endless ocean of supply that cannot be depleted. So right now, place your hand over your heart and affirm, I release all fear of lack. I trust the ever-renewing flow of infinite supply. I'm always safe, always supported, and always provided for. As you live in this trust, you'll find that life mirrors it back to you with ease, opportunities, and abundance beyond what you imagined. Inspired action, moving in harmony with Source. When it comes to wealth, many people swing between two extremes. Some overwork, hustle endlessly, and believe success only comes through struggle. Others swing to the opposite side, doing nothing, waiting passively, hoping that miracles will just fall into their lap. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that true prosperity comes from inspired action, the kind of action that feels guided, natural, and in harmony with Source. It's not about forcing or hustling. It's about listening for divine direction and taking the step that feels right in the moment. This is the difference between exhausting effort and effortless flow. When you align with Source, the right steps, people, and timing unfold with grace. The difference between hustle and divinely inspired action. Hustle is driven by fear. It says, if I don't work harder than everyone else, I'll fail. If I don't push, I won't get ahead. Hustle often leads to burnout, frustration, and even sabotaging the very success you're trying to create. Divinely inspired action is different. It comes from inner calm and clarity. It says, I trust the infinite intelligence within me to show the right step. I don't need to force. I just need to follow. Florence explained it this way. When you are in the right vibration, the right action presents itself naturally. You will know what to do without effort or worry. Inspired action feels light and effortless, even if it challenges you. It doesn't feel like a heavy burden. It feels like a clear next step. Here's a simple way to tell the difference. Hustle feels frantic and desperate. Inspired action feels calm, even if it's bold. Hustle drains your energy. Inspired action energizes you and opens new doors. How Source will guide you to the right steps, people, and timing. The source of all supply is infinitely intelligent. It sees connections and possibilities your human mind can't see. When you align with it, it gently nudges you toward the right people, the right opportunities, and the perfect timing for your prosperity. This guidance can come in many forms. A sudden inner nudge to call someone. A random coincidence that introduces you to the right person. A new idea that lights up your mind with excitement. A feeling of resistance telling you not to move yet. Florence encouraged her students to pause before acting and asked for guidance. She gave this simple prayer: Infinite Spirit, reveal to me the next right step. Give me a clear sign. I am divinely guided in all my ways. She taught that when you trust and wait calmly, the answer always comes, often as a gentle inner knowing. Florence's examples of students taking one small step, big breakthrough. Florence loved sharing stories of students who experienced huge shifts from taking one inspired step. One student was desperate for work and felt paralyzed by fear. Florence told her, "Be still and ask for guidance." After praying, the woman suddenly felt an urge to visit a friend in another part of town. When she arrived, her friend introduced her to someone who offered her a job the same day. Another man was trying to sell a property but had no buyers. Florence told him to affirm, "Infinite Spirit opens the way for the right buyer at the right time." A few days later, he felt prompted to place a simple ad in a small local paper. That one small ad brought in the exact buyer who paid more than he expected. Florence would say, "You don't need to know the whole plan. You only need to take the step right in front of you." That's the beauty of inspired action. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It's just one clear move that leads to the next, creating a chain of blessings you couldn't have planned yourself. How to discern when it's time to act. So how do you know when it's time to act and when it's time to wait? Florence taught a few simple ways to discern the right timing. Check your inner state. If you're feeling anxious, desperate, or pressured, it's better to pause. Those emotions cloud intuition. If you feel calm, clear, and quietly confident, it's often a sign it's time to move. Ask for a sign. Florence would often say, ask for definite, unmistakable guidance. This could come as a repeating number, a message from someone, or an idea that keeps returning. Listen for the feeling of peace. True guidance comes with a sense of inner peace, even if the action feels new or scary. Fear-based decisions feel heavy and conflicted. Trust that waiting is also an action. Sometimes the best action is patience. Florence reminded her students that delays are often divine protection or preparation. She taught, never act in a state of fear or doubt. Be still until you hear the still small voice say, "This is the way." Then move forward with faith. A simple practice for aligning with inspired action. Here's a quick daily practice to stay aligned with inspired action instead of hustle. Morning connection. Before you start your day, take a few deep breaths and affirm, "Infinite Spirit, guide me today. Show me the right steps that lead to my highest good and prosperity." Pause before decisions. Whenever you face a choice, big or small, pause and silently ask, "Is this the right step for me now?" Notice how your body feels. Lightness means yes. Heaviness means no or not yet. Look for clarity, not confusion. If something feels confused or murky, it's often not time to act. Wait for the clarity that always comes with true guidance. Evening reflection. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I follow any inner nudges today? What unfolded when I did? Gratitude for even small successes strengthens your connection to guidance. Real-life shift from hustle to inspired action. Imagine two people starting a business. One forces themselves to work 14-hour days, trying every marketing trick they can find. They're burned out and still not seeing results. The other begins their day by connecting inward, asking for guidance. They feel inspired to reach out to a specific person. That conversation leads to a partnership that doubles their business. The second person didn't work harder. They worked in harmony with Source. One inspired step did more than weeks of hustle. Florence said it best. Never force anything. If it is right, it will flow. If it is not right, it will fall away and something better will take its place. Living in the rhythm of divine timing. When you embrace inspired action, you live in a natural rhythm with life. You stop feeling like you're chasing after money or forcing success. Instead, you're guided into the right rooms, the right conversations, and the right opportunities at the perfect time. It doesn't mean you sit around doing nothing. It means you only do what is truly necessary and what has the most impact, because you're moving with divine precision, not blind effort. Final thought. Inspired action is the bridge between spiritual alignment and material results. It's how you co-create with the universe instead of struggling against it. So today, pause and affirm. I do not hustle or force. I am divinely guided in all my ways. The right ideas, people, and timing unfold for me with ease. I act only when guided, and my steps lead to endless success. When you live this way, you'll find that you accomplish far more with far less effort because you're no longer acting alone. You're moving in harmony with the source of all supply, living from the overflow, not the struggle. Imagine waking up every day with a deep sense of safety, knowing your needs are always met, even before you ask. Imagine living with so much trust in the flow of life that you stop worrying about bills, opportunities, or the future. You move through life with peace, confidence, and a quiet knowing that there's more than enough for you and for everyone. This is what Florence Scovel Shinn called living from the overflow. It's a state where you're permanently aligned with the source of all supply, so wealth doesn't just come as a temporary windfall. It becomes a way of life. Most people live from struggle. They believe money is scarce, hard to earn, and must be chased constantly. Even when they have a moment of financial relief, they slip back into anxiety because they haven't changed the underlying state of consciousness. Florence taught that real prosperity is not about a single event or lucky break. It's about living in ongoing alignment with divine abundance. Let's explore how to move into that state, what it feels like to live in permanent alignment with Source. When you're in alignment with Source, life feels very different. You stop fighting for survival and start flowing with ease. Here are some signs you're living in alignment. You feel calm about money, even if you don't see the how yet. You naturally attract opportunities without forcing them. You're generous without fear because you trust more is always coming. You make decisions from inspiration, not desperation. You see proof of abundance everywhere. Unexpected gifts, helpful people, creative ideas. Florence described it as a state of serenity, where supply rushes to you without strain. It's like being in a river of good things. You don't have to paddle upstream. You simply allow the current to carry you. It doesn't mean you never face challenges. It means that even when challenges arise, you don't panic. You know the same power that provided for you before will provide again. How to create a lifestyle of abundance, not just a one-time windfall. Many people experience bursts of prosperity, a bonus, a gift, a sudden opportunity, but then go back to struggle. Why? Because they never shifted the inner state that created scarcity in the first place. Florence taught that to sustain abundance, you must make it your default vibration. Here's how. See abundance as your natural state, not an exception. Scarcity is man-made. Abundance is divine order. The trees, the ocean, the stars, everything in nature shows us that life is designed for plenty. When you accept this as normal, overflow becomes your baseline. Practice daily mental hygiene. Just like you shower daily to stay clean, you must clean your thoughts daily. Florence recommended affirmations and prayer to keep your mind aligned with truth instead of fear. Circulate your blessings. Money is energy. If you hoard out of fear, it stagnates. If you give and circulate it with trust, it returns multiplied. Florence said, giving opens the way for receiving. Detach from how supply will come. Don't limit the universe to one channel. Jobs, clients, or investments are just avenues, but the source can create new ways at any moment. Stay open. Live with gratitude as your foundation. Gratitude multiplies what you already have. When you appreciate your current blessings, you create space for more. By practicing these daily, you move from temporary gains to a consistent flow of prosperity. Florence's practice of daily spiritual wealth maintenance. Florence saw prosperity as something you maintain through conscious alignment. Just as you maintain health through good habits, you maintain wealth through spiritual habits. Here's what she recommended as a daily wealth practice. Morning alignment. Begin each day with a prosperity declaration. For example, I am one with the infinite source of supply. Today, everything I need comes to me in perfect ways. This sets the tone for the day and reminds your mind where your true supply comes from. Midday check-in. If you catch yourself worrying about money, stop immediately and replace the thought. Say, there is no lack in divine mind. I'm always richly provided for. Evening gratitude. At night, list 3 ways you saw proof of abundance during the day. Maybe it was a free coffee, a kind gesture, or an unexpected opportunity. This reinforces the feeling of overflow. She believed that small, consistent practices keep your consciousness tuned to abundance, just like tuning a musical instrument. Real stories of people living in ongoing prosperity. Florence shared many stories of students who went from financial roller coasters to steady prosperity by living in this overflow mindset. One woman was always in feast and famine cycles. She'd get a windfall, then lose it just as quickly. Florence had her practice daily affirmations of stability. I am permanently established in prosperity. My supply is constant and secure. Over time, she not only attracted more clients, but also learned to manage money wisely, creating lasting wealth. Another man lived paycheck to paycheck, constantly anxious. Florence taught him to shift from focusing on bills to focusing on the source. He began starting each morning with gratitude and affirmations like, Infinite Spirit is my immediate supply. I never run out. Within months, he attracted a better-paying job, cleared his debts, and began saving without strain. There was also a couple who were terrified of spending money because they feared the next emergency. Florence helped them release fear by practicing daily trust statements like, there is always a surplus. We live from overflow. Soon, unexpected opportunities and gifts came, and they realized they had been blocking blessings by clinging to fear. These stories show that living in overflow isn't about luck. It's about creating a stable inner relationship with wealth. What living from overflow looks like in daily life. When you live from overflow, you stop obsessing over every expense, taking jobs or clients out of fear, feeling jealous of other people's success. Instead, you spend with peace, knowing more is coming. Make bold, inspired moves because you trust you're supported. Celebrate others' abundance, knowing it doesn't take away from yours. Florence said, "You cannot be envious and prosper. Bless the good you see, and it will return to you multiplied." Living from overflow isn't about luxury for the sake of ego. It's about living in such trust and alignment that you're free to create, give, and enjoy life without fear. A quick visualization for living in overflow. Let's anchor this feeling with a short visualization. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Feel your body relaxing. Picture yourself standing under a beautiful waterfall of golden light. This light represents infinite abundance. It flows over you endlessly, never stopping. Feel the light filling your mind with peace, your heart with joy, and your hands with more than enough. You have enough to live well, give freely, and still have extra. Say silently, "I live from overflow. My needs are always met. I have more than enough to share. Abundance is my natural state." See yourself moving through life with ease, paying bills joyfully, receiving unexpected blessings, and helping others because you're full. Take a deep breath and open your eyes, carrying this feeling of overflow with you. Living from overflow is not about waiting for the big break. It's about creating a lasting partnership with Source so that wealth becomes a permanent flow in your life, not just a temporary event. When you live this way, money stops being a source of fear or struggle. It becomes a natural part of your divine rhythm. So today, affirm with conviction, "I am permanently aligned with infinite abundance. I live from the overflow, not the struggle. My supply is constant, ever renewing, and more than enough for my highest good." As you embody this truth, you'll find that the river of prosperity never stops flowing, becoming a channel for prosperity beyond yourself. One of the most powerful truths about wealth is this: prosperity flows more freely through those who use it for good. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that money is not meant to stagnate. It is a divine energy designed to circulate, to bless, to uplift, not only your life, but the lives of others. When you see yourself as a channel for prosperity instead of just a container, you open the floodgates for more abundance than you ever imagined. Most people approach wealth from a purely personal perspective. They ask, "How can I get more from me?" But when you shift to, "How can I allow wealth to flow through me to benefit many?" you tap into a higher purpose of prosperity. Let's explore why becoming a channel for good expands your capacity to receive, and how this mindset aligns you with endless supply. Why Source flows through you more when you use wealth for good. Think of water. When it flows through a clean, open channel, it moves easily. But when the channel is blocked or hoarded, the water stagnates. The same is true with money. When you try to hoard wealth out of fear, you close the flow. But when you allow it to move through you, paying fairly, giving generously, creating value for others, you stay in harmony with the universal law of circulation. Florence said, "Whatever you send out comes back multiplied. If you withhold good, you withhold it from yourself. Source flows to where it can do the most good." If you're someone who uses money wisely to improve your life and help others, divine supply trusts you with more. It knows you won't just hoard it, you'll channel it. This doesn't mean you must give away everything or live with nothing for yourself. Florence believed in enjoying life fully, but she taught that wealth has a greater purpose than just material comfort. It is a tool for creating more good in the world. Prosperity benefits the collective, not just the individual. Florence emphasized that true prosperity is not selfish. It naturally uplifts others. When you start a business, you're not just earning money for yourself. You're creating jobs, opportunities, and services that help others. When you invest in your education or growth, you're better equipped to inspire and support the people around you. When you donate or give, you directly improve someone's life. She would often say, "Man is a channel, not a reservoir. As he blesses others, he is blessed himself." Think about it. A farmer who grows abundant crops doesn't keep them locked in a barn. He shares them, sells them, and feeds a community. In return, he receives more resources to keep planting. In the same way, when you circulate your wealth, whether through generosity, fair exchange, or creativity, you become a living part of the prosperity ecosystem. How generosity expands your capacity to receive even more. Many people fear that giving will leave them with less. But Florence taught the opposite. Giving multiplies your good. Why? Because generosity shifts your vibration from scarcity to abundance. When you give, you're affirming, I have more than enough. I trust the source to replenish me. This trust opens the flow for even more to come. She often gave her students this affirmation. I give freely and fearlessly, knowing my supply is endless and immediate. There are countless stories of people who gave from the little they had, only to see it return multiplied. For example, one of Florence's students was terrified about her rent. Florence encouraged her to give a small gift to someone in greater need. Even though it seemed illogical, the student followed the guidance. A few days later, she received unexpected money that covered not only her rent but extra expenses. The act of giving wasn't about the amount. It was about breaking the fear of lack and becoming a clear channel for circulation. The higher purpose of wealth beyond material comfort. Florence was clear. Money itself is neutral. It only takes on the energy of how it's used. In the wrong hands, it can cause harm. In the right hands, it becomes a powerful force for good. She encouraged her students to see wealth as a responsibility, not in a heavy, burdensome way, but as an opportunity to bring more light into the world. Here are some higher purposes of wealth: creating beauty and inspiration. Money can support art, education, and environments that uplift the human spirit. Solving problems. Wealth allows you to contribute to causes that improve lives, whether it's feeding the hungry or funding solutions to global issues. Empowering others. When you have more than enough, you can invest in others' dreams, offer opportunities, and open doors for those who need them. Living your purpose fully. When you're not stressed about survival, you can focus on your true calling, which often benefits far more than just yourself. Florence reminded her students that you are a steward of divine wealth. You're not just receiving for yourself. You're receiving on behalf of the larger good, becoming a clear channel for divine supply. So how do you become a channel for prosperity rather than a reservoir that tries to hoard it? Release fear of not having enough. Trust that what you give is replenished. Repeat often, I cannot lose. What I give returns multiplied. Bless the money you spend. When you pay bills, don't resent it. Say, this money blesses others, and it comes back to me multiplied. Look for ways to add value. How can your work, creativity, or resources bless more people? The more value you circulate, the more wealth flows back to you. Give from inspiration, not obligation. Generosity should feel joyful, not forced. Even small acts of giving with the right heart expand your flow. Visualize yourself as a golden channel. Imagine wealth flowing through you like light, filling your needs and then extending to touch many others. When you live this way, you become like a river, always full, always flowing, always replenished. A short guided visualization, becoming a channel of prosperity. Let's anchor this with a short visualization. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Feel yourself relaxing into trust. Imagine a golden river of light flowing from infinite source. It's endless, bright, and full of blessings. See this river flowing into you, filling every part of your life with abundance. Your finances, your home, your relationships. Now see the river continuing to flow out from you, touching your family, friends, community, and even strangers. As it flows out, it expands even more, creating a ripple of good that comes back to you multiplied. Say silently, I am a clear channel for divine prosperity. I give freely, I receive abundantly, and I am richly blessed to bless others. Take a deep breath and feel the truth of this. Real stories of prosperity flowing through generosity. Florence often told of a businessman who began tithing a portion of his income even when sales were low. At first, it seemed foolish to give when he had little, but within months, his business grew beyond anything he expected. He realized that by circulating money, he had opened the channel for more. Another student struggled financially, but began blessing everyone who prospered instead of feeling envious. She also gave small, thoughtful gifts whenever she felt inspired. Soon, she found herself surrounded by generous people who supported her in return. These stories show that when you use wealth as a blessing rather than a possession, you align with the endless supply of the universe. Becoming a channel for prosperity beyond yourself transforms how you experience wealth. It's no longer just about survival or comfort. It becomes a living partnership with Source, where you're entrusted with more because you use it for more. Florence would say, you cannot outgive God. The more you give, the more will flow back to you in miraculous ways. So today, affirm with conviction, I am a channel for divine abundance. My wealth blesses me, blesses others, and multiplies for the highest good of all. When you live this way, you'll notice the universe trusts you with more because you're not just keeping it, you're circulating it for greater good. Conclusion and guided oneness meditation. we have arrived at the final step of this journey into the teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn, the ultimate understanding of wealth. After exploring each principle, story, and practice, everything comes back to this simple yet profound truth. Wealth is not outside of you. It has always been within you. It is not in the economy, your job, or any single person. It is not in chasing opportunities, hustling endlessly, or clinging to what you already have. True wealth is spiritual in origin. It begins in the unseen and expresses through you. When you realize that you are one with the infinite source of supply, the illusion of lack dissolves. You stop searching desperately for something outside yourself because you know the fountain of abundance is already within you. Let's take a moment to recap the essential secrets we've learned before we close this series with a powerful oneness meditation. Recap: the ultimate secret of wealth. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that all prosperity begins with consciousness, the state of mind you hold. Money is spiritual energy first, material second. Everything you see in physical form comes from an invisible spiritual substance. Scarcity is a false belief. Feeling separate from source creates fear, doubt, and struggle. But the truth is, you're never separate. Faith is the bridge. Faith connects you to the unseen supply and allows it to take form in your life. Words and imagination create. What you speak, declare, and visualize in alignment with truth must eventually manifest. Letting go allows flow. Releasing fear, resentment, and resistance opens the channels for blessings to arrive. Giving multiplies. When you circulate wealth, you expand your capacity to receive even more. Purpose elevates prosperity. When you use wealth for good, it flows through you in ever greater measure. Ultimately, all of these principles lead to one truth. You and the source of supply are one. When you live from that oneness, you live from overflow, not struggle. Final prosperity affirmations from Florence Scovel Shinn. Before we move into the guided meditation, let's speak a few of Florence's most powerful prosperity declarations. You can say them out loud or silently, but say them with feeling. I am one with the infinite source of supply. My wealth is constant, endless, and ever-renewing. All that is mine by divine right comes to me now in perfect ways. I have a magical work in a magical way. I give magical service for magical pay. I give freely and fearlessly, knowing my supply is endless and immediate. Unexpected doors of abundance open for me now. I am richly blessed and a blessing to others. These affirmations are not mere words. They are commands to the invisible substance of life. Spoken with faith, they reshape your reality. Now, let's seal this entire journey with a 5-minute guided meditation to merge with the source of all supply. Guided oneness meditation. Merging with the source of all supply. Find a quiet, comfortable place. Sit or lie down, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Breathe in slowly through your nose, hold for a moment, and exhale gently through your mouth. Let your body relax. With each breath, feel yourself becoming calmer and more present. Release all thoughts of worry, fear, or limitation. They no longer serve you. You are safe. You are supported. You are in the presence of infinite abundance. Now imagine a soft golden light above your head. This light represents the infinite source of all wealth, wisdom, and love. It is vast, eternal, and unlimited. See this golden light slowly flowing down, entering the crown of your head. Feel it washing over your mind, dissolving every false belief about scarcity, struggle, or separation. Feel your mind becoming clear, open, and receptive. Now the light moves gently through your heart. It fills your heart with peace, gratitude, and trust. Any fear of running out, any unworthiness, any guilt about wealth, it all melts away in this divine light. Next, see the golden light flowing through your hands, your entire body, until you are completely surrounded and filled with it. You are glowing with abundance. You are radiating prosperity. Now imagine this light expanding beyond you, connecting to everything around you. The people you love, your home, your work, your entire life. This golden light is weaving a web of abundance that touches everyone and everything you interact with. As you sit in this light, silently repeat these words. I am one with infinite supply. I am not separate from wealth. I am the channel through which divine abundance flows. I am richly blessed, and I bless others in return. All that I need comes to me in perfect ways. I live in overflow. I live in peace. I live in oneness. Take a deep breath and feel this truth sinking into every cell of your being. You and the source are not two. You are one. There is no lack. There is no struggle. Only infinite good flowing through you now and always. Stay in this feeling for a few more breaths. Imagine yourself walking through your life with this light always around you, guiding you, providing for you, opening doors you never imagined. When you're ready, slowly bring your awareness back to the room. Wiggle your fingers and toes, and gently open your eyes, carrying this sense of oneness with you. Encouragement to live daily in conscious connection to infinite wealth. This meditation is more than a momentary experience. It is a reminder of your true nature. You don't have to create wealth. You simply allow it to flow by remembering who you are. Florence said, "Man's supply is inexhaustible when he comes into the right vibration." You are now in that vibration. To stay there, practice daily alignment. Begin your mornings with gratitude and affirmations. Throughout the day, speak truth over any appearance of lack. Circulate your blessings with trust and joy. End your evenings by noticing all the ways abundance showed up for you, even in small ways. As you live in conscious connection, wealth becomes not just an event, but a lifestyle. You will see the outer world rearrange to match the inner truth you hold. Remember, you're not here to scrape by or live in fear. You are here to express the fullness of life, to create, to give, to enjoy, and to expand. Prosperity is your divine right, not for selfishness, but for the greater good of all. Final thought. So as we close this journey, hold this in your heart. You are one with the source of infinite wealth. Lack is an illusion that dissolves in the light of truth. You are meant to live richly, not just for yourself, but as a blessing to the world. Take one last deep breath and affirm, "I am one with the infinite. My wealth is unlimited, ever-flowing, and always aligned with divine good. I live in peace, joy, and endless prosperity now and forever." Carry this truth with you into every choice, every conversation, every step. Because from this day forward, you're no longer living from struggle. You're living from the overflow. And with that, this teaching series concludes. But remember, this is not an ending. It is the beginning of a new way of life, a life in conscious union with the source of all supply.